Namah Parvati Pate Hara 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 Mahadev. Namo Swanantaya Sahasramurtaye Sahasraparak Shishiro Bhave Purushaya Shashvate Sahasrakoti Yugadarine Namah. Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Sachidananda Murtaye Nishpapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Nityanandaya Gurave Shishya Samsara Harine Kadehaya Namaste Chitsadatmane. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Tejasvina Varitamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Gurubhyo Guru Padukabhyo Namah Parebhya Parapadukabhya Acharya Siddhesh Parapadukabhyo Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhya Ainkara Rimkara Rahasya Yukta Shinkara Gurar Tama Vibhutya Omkara Marma Pratiparinibhyam Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam. Otragni Otragni Avishotru Om Sharavaravabhyam Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Asya Shri Guru Gita Stotra Mantrasya Bhavan Sada Shiva Rishi Nana Vidani Chandamsi Shri Guru Paramatma Devata Ambijam Sa Shakti Krom Kilakam Shri Guru Prasad Siddhyarte Jape Viniyoga Ata Dhyanam Hamsabhyam Parivritta Patra Kamale जगत्कारणे विश्वोत्कीर्णमने पदे अनिलये स्वच्छन्दमात्मेशया तद्योतं हर्षं भवन्तु चरणं दीपाङ्कुरग्राहिणां प्रत्यक्षाक्षरविग्रहं गुरुपरं ध्याये विभुं शाश्वतम् सुता उवाच कैलासशिखरे रम्ये भक्तिसन्धाननायकम् प्रणम्य पार्वती भक्त्या शङ्करं पृच्छति श्रीदेवी उवाच ॐ नमो देवदेवेश परात्परा जगद्गुरो सदाशिव महादेव गुरुदीक्षां प्रदेहि मे येन मार्गेण भो स्वामी देहि ब्रह्ममयो भवेत् त्वं कृपां कुरु मे स्वामी नमामि चरणौ तव ईश्वर उवाच मम रूपासि देवी त्वं त्वत्प्रीत्यर्थं वदाम्यहम् लोकोपकारका प्रश्नो न केनापि कृता पुरा दुर्लभं त्रिषु लोकेषु तच्छृणुष्व वदाम्यहम् गुरुं विना ब्रह्मणान्यत् सत्यं सत्यं वरानने वेदशास्त्र पुराणानि इतिहासादिकानि च मन्त्रयन्त्रादिविद्याश्च श्रुतिरुच्चाटनादिकाम् शैवशाक्तमादीनि अन्यानि विविधानि च अपभ्रंशकराणि जीवनं भ्रन्तते च साम् यज्ञं व्रतं तपोदानं जपस्तीर्थं च तथैव च गुरुतपमविज्ञाय मुरसे चरते जना गुरुपूज्यात्मनो नान्यत् सत्यं सत्यं न संशयः कल्लवर्तं प्रयत्नस्तु कर्तव्यो हि मनीषिभिः गुरुविद्या जगन्माया देहे चाज्ञानसम्भवा उदयो या प्रकाशेन गुरुशब्देन कथ्यते सर्वपापविशुद्धात्मा श्रीगुरोपादसेवनात् देहि ब्रह्म भवेद्यस्मात् स्वकृपार्थं वदामि ते गुरुपादं भुजं स्मृत्वा जलं शिरसि धारयेत् सर्वतीर्थभगास्य सम्प्राप्नोति फलं नरः शोषणं पापपङ्कस्य दीपनं ज्ञानतेजसां गुरुपादोदकं सम्यक् संसारानवतारकम् अज्ञानमूलहरणं जन्मकर्मनिवारणं ज्ञानवैराग्यसिद्ध्यर्थं गुरुपादोदकं पिबेत् गुरुपादोदकं पीत्वा गुरोरुच्छिष्टभोजनं गुरुमूर्ते सदा ध्यानं गुरुमन्त्रं सदा जपेत् काशीक्षेत्रं तन्निवासो जाह्नवीचरणोदकम् गुरुविश्वेश्वरा साक्षात् तारकं ब्रह्मनिष्ठितम् गुरुपादोदकं यातु गयासौ सोक्षयो वटः तीर्थराज प्रयागश्च गुरुमूर्ते नमो नमः गुरुमूर्तिं स्मरे नित्यं गुरुनाम सदा जपेत् Gururanja Gurvita Gururanyana Bhavaye Guru Vatra Sitam Brahma Prapyate Tat Prasadataha Guru Dhyanam Sada Kuryat Tulasri Swapatiryata Swashramam Cha Swajatim Cha Swakirti Pushti Vardhanam Etat Sarvam Parityajya Gururanyana Bhavaye Ananya Shintayanto Mam Sulabham Paramam Padam Tasmat Sarva Prayanena Gururaradhanam Kuru Trailokye Sputavaktaro Devadya Surapannaga Guru Bhaktra Sita Vidya Guru Bhaktya Chulavyate Rukarastvandhakarascha Rukarastejya Uchyate Ajnanagrasakam Brahma Gurureva na samshaya Rukara pratamo varno Mayadi gunabhasakaha Rukaro dvitiyo Brahma Maya Bhranti Vinashanam Evam Guru Padam Shreshtam Devanamapi Durlabham Ahu Ganasheva Gandharvesha Prapujyate Dhruvam Adakena Pradatavyam Guru Santoshakarakam Gururaradhanam Karyam Svajivitvam Nivedaye Karmana Manasa Vacha Nityamaradayet Gurum Irgadandam Namaskritya Nirlasho Guru Sanidam Shariram Indriyam Pranan Sadgurubhyo Nivedaye Atmadararikam Sarvam Sadgurubhyo Nivedaye Mikita Basma Vista Durgani Malamutrakam Shleshmaratam Shachamam Sam Vanchayena Varanane Samsara Vrikshamaruda Patanto Narakarnave Yena Chevodrita Sarve Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Deva Para Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Etave Jagatameva Sansararnavasetave Prabhave Sarva Vidyanam Shambhave Gurave Namah Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnanajara Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Tvam Pita Tvam Cha Me Mata Tvam Bandhu Tvam Cha Devata Samsara Pratibhorartham Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Yat Satyena Jagat Satyam Yat Prakashena Bhatitat Yaranandena Nandanti Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Yasya Sitya Satyamidam Yabati Bhanurupatam Priyam Putrariya Pritya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Yena Chetayate Idam Chitam Chetayate Nayam Jagratvatna Sushubhyari Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Yasatyanaridam Vishwam Nadrusham Dina Bheratam Sare Karu Parupaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Yasya Matam Tasya Matam मातम्यस्य न वेदसः प्रभावाय तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः यस्य कारणरूपस्य कार्यरूपेण भाति कार्यकारणरूपाय तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः नानारूपमिदं सर्वं न केनाप्यस्ति विना च कार्यकारणता चैव तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः यरङ्घ्रिकमलद्वन्द्वं द्वन्द्वतापनिवारकं तारकं सर्वरापाभ्यः श्रीगुरुं प्रणमम्यहम् शिवे कृते गुरुश्राता गुरुकृते शिवो नहि तस्मात् सर्वप्रयतेन श्रीगुरुं शरणं व्रजे वन्दे गुरुपराद्वन्द्वं ममरचित्तगोचरं श्वेतरक्तप्रभाविनं शिवशक्त्यात्मकं परम् दुःखरं च गुणातीतं
ऋकारं रूपवर्जितं
गुणातीतस्वरूपं च योरर्यत् स गुरुस्मृता त्रिनेत्र सर्वसाक्षी चतुर्बाहुरच्युता चतुर्वदनो ब्रह्मा श्रीगुरुकातिता प्रिये अयमयाञ्जलिर्बद्धो दायसागारवृद्धये यदनुग्रहो चन्तुश्चित्रसंसारमुक्तिभाक् श्रीगुरो परमं रूपं विवेकचक्षुषोमुठां मन्दभाग्यान् पश्यन्ति अन्धसूर्योदयं यथा श्रीनाथचरणद्वन्द्वं यस्य दिशि विराजते तस्य दिशि नमस्कुर्यात् भक्त्या प्रतिदिनं प्रिये तस्य दिशि सततमञ्जलरेषार्ये प्रक्षिप्यते मुखरितो मरुपेर्बुधेश्च
जागर्ति यत्र भगवान् गुरुचक्रवर्ती विश्वोदय
प्रलयनाटक नित्यसाक्षी
श्रीनाथादिगुरुत्रयं गणपतिं पीठत्रयं भैरवं सिद्धौघं वटुकत्रयं
परयुगं दूतिक्रमं मण्डलम् वीरान्द्रष्टचतुष्षष्टिनवकं
वीरावली पञ्चकं
श्रीमालिनी मन्त्रराजसहितं वन्दे गुरुर्मण्डलम् आद्यसे सकले सुदीर्घमनिले व्याधि प्रदे दुष्करे नारायणमशते अनेककरणे दुःखात्मकेर्दुर्जये यस्मिन्नाभ्युदिते विनाशति बली वायु स्वयं तत्क्षणात् प्राप्तुं तत्सहजं स्वभावमनिशां सेवात्वमेकं गुरुं स्वदेशिकसेव शरीरचिन्तनं भवेदनतस्य शिवस्य चिन्तनं स्वदेशिकसेव च नाम कीर्तनं भवेदनतस्य शिवस्य कीर्तनं यत्पररेणुकणिका कापि संसारवारिधे सेतुबन्धायते नाथं देशिकं तामुपास्महे यस्मादनुग्रहं लब्ध्वा महारज्ञानमुत्सृजेत् तस्मै श्रीदेशिकेन्द्राय नमस्ताभीष्टसिद्धये पारब्जं सर्वसंसार दावनलविनाशकं ब्रह्मरन्ध्रसितं भोजा मध्यस्थं चन्द्रमण्डले अकतारितिरेकाब्जे सहस्रदलमण्डले हंसपार्श्वत्रिकोणे च स्मरे तन्मध्यगं गुरुम् सकलभुवनसृष्टिं कल्पितशेषपुष्टिर्निखिलनिगमदृष्टि सम्परं व्यर्थदृष्टिं सकलभुवनसृष्टि कल्पितशेषपुष्टिर्निखिलनिगमदृष्टि सम्परं व्यर्थदृष्टिं
स्थापनस्तम्भयस्ति
सकरुण सर्ववृष्टिस्तत्त्वमलसमस्ति
सकलसमयदृष्टि सच्चिदानन्ददृष्टिर्निवसतु मयि नित्यं श्रीगुरो दिव्यदृष्टि अग्निशुद्धं समं धातु ज्वालापरिचकार्या मन्त्रराजामिमं मन्ये अर्णिशां पातं मृत्युजा तरे जति तने जति तद्दूरे तत्समीपके तरन्तरस्य सर्वस्य तरु सर्वस्य पायथा अजोऽहमजरोऽहं च अनादिनिधनः स्वयम् अविकारशिरानन्द अनियन्माचो मान् अपूर्वाणं परं नित्यं स्वयं ज्योतिर्निरामयम् विरजं परमाकाशं
ध्रुवमानन्दमव्ययम् श्रुतिप्रत्यक्षमैतेयम् मनुमानश्चतुष्टयम् यस्य चात्मा तपो वेद देशिकं च सरस्मरे मननं यद्भवं कार्यं तद्वदामि महामते सर्वं च मया दृष्ट्वान् त्वयि तिष्ठति सम्प्रतम् अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्परं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः सर्वश्रुतिशिरोरत्ना निराजिता परम्बुजा निरताम्बुजसूर्यो यस् तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः यस्य स्मरणमात्रेण ज्ञानमुपाद्यते स्वयं या एव सर्वसम्प्राप्तिस्तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः चैतन्यं शाश्वतं शान्तं व्योमतीतं निरञ्जनं नारबिन्दुकलातीतं तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः स्थावरं जगमं चैव तथा चैवाचराचरं व्याप्तं येन जगत्सर्वं तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः ज्ञानशक्तिसमारुढस्तत्त्वमलविभूषितः मुक्तिप्रदाताय तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः सर्वकर्मविदायिने स्वात्मज्ञानप्रभावेन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः अनेकजन्मसम्प्राप्तं
तपः
तत्त्वं ज्ञानपरं नास्ति तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः मानता श्रीजगन्नाथो मद्गुरु श्रीजगद्गुरु ममात्मा सर्वभूतात्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः मूलं गुरुर्मूर्तिः पूजामूलं गुरुपरम् मन्त्रमूलं गुरुवाक्यम् मोक्षमूलं गुरुकृपा गुरुरादिरनारीश्च गुरुपरम देवताम् गुरुपरतरं नास्ति तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः सप्तसागरपरिणादिकं फलम् गुरुरङ्घ्रिपयो बिन्दु सहस्रांशेन दुर्लभम् हरुरुष्टे गुरुश्चाता गुरुरुष्टेन कश्चन तस्मात् सर्वप्रयत्नेन श्रीगुरुं शरणं व्रजे गुरुरेव जगत् सर्वं ब्रह्म विष्णु शिवात्मकम् गुरुपरतरं नास्ति तस्मात् सम्पूजयेत् गुरुम् ज्ञानं विज्ञानसहितं लभ्यते गुरुभक्तितः गुरुपरतरं नास्ति ध्येयोऽसौ गुरुमार्गिभिः यस्मात् परतरं नास्ति नेति नेतीति वै श्रुतिः मनसा वचसा चैव नित्यमाराधयेत् गुरुम् गुरुकृपा प्रसादेन ब्रह्म विष्णु सदाशिवा समर्थ प्रभवादौ च केवलं गुरुसेवया देवकी नरगन्धर्वा पितरो यक्षचारणाः मुनयोऽपि न जानन्ति गुरुशुश्रूषणे विधिम् अहङ्कारगर्वेण तपोविद्याबलान्विता संसारकुहरवर्ते बद्धयन्त्रे यथा गता नमोका देवगन्धर्वाः पितरो यक्षकिन्नराः ऋषयः सर्वसिद्धाश्च गुरुसेवा परमुखाः ज्ञानं शृणु महादेव सर्वानन्दप्रदायकं सर्वसौख्यकरं नित्यं भुक्तिमुक्तिविदायकम् श्रीमत्परब्रह्म गुरुं स्मरामि श्रीमत्परब्रह्म गुरुं वदामि श्रीमत्परब्रह्म गुरुं नमामि श्रीमत्परब्रह्म गुरुं भजामि ब्रह्मा वाचितं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वदि साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि नित्यं शुद्धं निराभासं निराकारं निरञ्जनं नित्यपूर्णं चिदानन्दं गुरुं ब्रह्मानमम्यहम् हृदाम्बुजे कणिकमाद्य संसे सीमासने सांसित्य दिव्यमूर्तिं ध्यायेत् गुरुं चन्द्रकलाप्रकाशं चित्पुस्तकाभिस्तवरं ददानं श्वेताम्बरं श्वेतविलेपपुष्पं मुक्ताविभूषं मुरितं द्विनेत्रं वामाङ्गपीतास्थितदिव्यशक्तिं मन्दास्मितं सान्द्रकृपानिधानम् अनन्तमानन्दकरं प्रसारं ज्ञानस्वरूपं निजबोधयुक्तं योगीन्द्रमेद्यं भवरोगवेद्यं श्रीमद्गुरुं नित्यमहं नमामि यस्मिन् सृष्टिस्थितिध्वंस निग्रहानुग्रहात्मकम् कृत्यं पञ्चविधं शाश्वत भासते तं नमम्यहम् प्रातः शिरसि शुक्लाब्जे द्विनेत्रं द्विभुजं गुरुं वरवलययुतं शान्तं स्मरेतं नाम पूर्वकम् न गुरोरधिकं न गुरोरधिकं न गुरोरधिकं न गुरोरधिकं शिवशासनता 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 चिरमेव शिवं चिरमेव शिवं चिरमेव शिवं चिरमेव शिवं मम शासनतो मम शासनतो मम शासनतो मम शासनतो एवं विधं गुरुं ध्यात्वा ज्ञानमुत्पद्यते स्वयं तत्सद्गुरुप्रसादेन मुक्तोऽहमिति भावये गुरुदर्शितमार्गेण मनःशुद्धिं तु कारये अनित्यं खण्डये सर्वं यत्किञ्चिदमगोचरम् एयं सर्वस्वरूपं च ज्ञानं च मनुच्यते ज्ञानमेय समं कुर्यान् नान्यपन्था द्वितीयका एवं श्रुत्वा महादेवी गुरुनिदं करोति यः स याति नरकं घोरं यावच्चन्द्रदिवाकरो यावत्कल्पान्तको देहात् तावदेव गुरुं स्मरेत् गुरुलोपो न कर्तव्यः स्वच्छन्दो यदि वा भवेत् ओंकारेण न वक्तव्यं राज्ञे कथञ्चन गुरुराग्रे न वक्तव्यम् असत्यं च कराचन गुरुं त्वं कृत्यं कृत्य गुरुं निर्जित्य भारतः अरण्ये निर्जले देशे सा भवेत् ब्रह्मराक्षसा मुनिविपन्नगैर्वापि सुरैर्वासापितो यदि कालं मृत्युभयाद्वापि गुरुरक्षति पार्वती आशक्ता हि सुराद्याश्च आशक्ता मुनयस्तुता गुरुशापेन ते शीघ्रं छायं यान्ति न संशया मन्त्रराजमिदं देवी गुरुरित्याक्षरद्वयम् स्मृतिवेदार्थवाक्येन गुरु साक्षात् परम्पराम् श्रुतिस्मृति अविज्ञाय केवलं गुरुसेवकाः ते वै सन्न्यासिना प्रोक्ता इतरे वेषधारिणाः नित्यं ब्रह्म निराकारं निर्गुणं बोधये परं सर्वब्रह्म निराभासं दीपो दीपान्तरं यथा गुरो कृपा प्रसादेन आत्मारामं निरीक्षयेत् अनेन गुरुमार्गेण स्वात्मज्ञानं प्रवर्तते ब्रह्मसर्वपर्यन्तं परमस्वरूपकं स्थावरं जगमं चैव प्रणमामि जगन्मयं वन्देऽहं सच्चिदानन्दं वेदातीतं सदागुरुं नित्यं पूर्णं निराकारं निर्गुणं स्वामसंस्थितम् परतरं नेयं नित्यमानन्दकारकं हृदयाकाशमध्यस्थं शुद्धस्फटिकसानिभं स्फटिकाप्रतिमारूपं दृश्यते दर्पणे यथा तथात्मनि चिदाकारं आनन्दं सोऽहमित्युता अङ्गुष्ठमात्रपुरुषं ध्यायतश्चिन्मयं हृदि तत्र स्फुरति भावो या शृणु त्वं कथयं याम् अगोचरं च तागम्यं नामरूपविवर्जितं निःशब्दं च विजानीयात् स्वभवं ब्रह्म पार्वती यथा गन्धस्वभावेन कर्पूरकुसुमादिषु शीतोष्णादि स्वभावेन तथा ब्रह्म च शाश्वतम् स्वयं तथाविदो भूत्वा स्थातव्यं यत्र कुत्रचित् चित्तब्रह्मरवतत्र ज्ञानं भवति तदृशम् गुरुज्ञानं तथा कृत्वा स्वयं ब्रह्ममयो भवेत् हिन्दे पारे तथा रूपे मुक्तो सो नात्र संशयः श्री पार्वती उवाच इन्द्रं किं च महादेव हरं किं समुदारितं रूपतीतं च रूपं किम् एतदध्यायि शङ्करा श्रीमहादेव उवाच इन्दं कुण्डलिनी शक्ति परमं समुदारितं रूपं बिन्दुरिति ज्ञेयं रूपतीतं निरञ्जनं विने मुक्ता परे मुक्ता रूपे मुक्ता वरानने रूपातीते ये मुक्तास् ते मुक्ता नात्र संशयः स्वयं सर्वमयो भूत्वा परं तत्त्वं विलोकये परतरं नान्यात् सर्वमेतन्निरालयम् अस्यावलोकनं प्राप्य सर्वसङ्गविवर्जिता एकाकी निष्प्रशान्तः ईशते तपसादता लादं वा धनलादं वा सर्वभावं च निष्कामेनैव भोक्तव्यं सदा सन्तुष्टते च सा सर्वज्ञा परमित्याहुः देहि सर्वं मयो बुधा सदानन्द सदा शान्तो रामते यत्र कुत्रचित् तत्रैव तिष्ठते सोऽपि सादिश पुण्यभाजनं मुक्तस्य लक्षणं देवी तवाग्रे कथितं मया उपदेशसुता देवी गुरुमार्गेण मुक्तिदा गुरुभक्ति सतर्याणां सकलं तव कीर्तितम् अनेन य भवे कार्यं तद्वरमिमामथे लोकोपकारकं देवी लौकिकं च न भावये लौकिका कर्मणो यान्ति यानयेन भवर्णवं यानि तु भावये सर्वं कर्मनिष्कर्म यत्कृतम् इदं तु भक्तिभावेन आतते शृणुते हरिं विधिवता कर्तव्यं तत्सर्वं सफलं भवेत् गुरुगीतात्मकं देवी शुद्धतवं मयोदितं भावव्यारे विनाशार्थं स्वयमेव जपे सदा गुरुगीताक्षरेकं च मन्त्ररसामिमं जपे अन्ये च विविधा मन्त्रा फलं नरन्ति षोडशीम् अनन्त फलमप्नोति गुरुगीता जपेन तु सर्वपापप्रशमनं सर्वदारिद्र्यनाशनम् कालमृत्युभयारं सर्वसङ्कटनाशनं यक्षराक्षसभूतानां भयापहम् महाव्यारिहरं सर्वं विभूतिसिरिदं भवेत् अथवा मोहनं वश्यं स्वयमेव जपे सदा च दारिद्र्यम् आशने रोगसम्भवम् नेनिन्यां दुःखमाप्नोति अश्चे भवति निष्फलम् कृष्णार्जुने ज्ञानसिद्धिर्मोक्षशीघ्राग्रचर्मणि कुशस्थाने ज्ञानसिद्धिं सर्वसिद्धिसुखं बले कुशे वा दुर्वया देवी आसने शुभ्रकम्बले उपविश्य ततो देवी तपेदिक्राकमानसा येयं शुक्लं च शन्यर्थं वशिरथसनं प्रिये अभिचारे कृष्णवर्णं पीतवर्णं धनागमे उत्तरे शान्तिकामस्तु पश्ये पूर्वमुखो जपे दक्षिणे मारणं प्रोक्तं पश्चिमे च धनागमम् मोहनं सर्वभूतानां
बन्धमोक्षकरं भवेत्
देवराज प्रियकरं सर्वलोकवशं भवेत् सर्वेषां समनकरं पूर्णं च विवर्धनं दुष्कर्मनाशनं चैव सुकर्मसिद्धिं भवेत् असिद्धं साधये कार्यं नवग्रहभयापहं दुःस्वप्ननाशनं चैव दुःस्वप्नफलदायकम् सर्वशान्तिकरं नित्यं तथा वर्यासपुत्रम् अवेदव्यं करं श्रीणां सौभाग्यदायकं सदा आयुरारोग्यमेश्वर्यं पुत्रपुत्रप्रवर्धनम् अकमकस्त्रीविरवं जपमोक्षमवा धर्मतः काममोक्षरम् यं यं चिन्तयते कामं तं तं प्राप्नोति निश्चितम् कामितस्य कामधेनु कल्पना कल्पपारपम् चिन्तामणिश्चितितस्य सर्वमङ्गलकारकम् मोक्षहेतुर्जपे नित्यम् भवाप्नुयात् भोगकामो जपेद्यो वे तस्य कामफलप्रदम् जपेक्षातः ससुरश्च गणपत्यश्च वैष्णवाः शिवश्च सिरिरं देवी सत्यं सत्यं न संशयात् आतकाम्य जपे स्थानं कथयामि वरानने सागरे वा सरितीरे अथवारि हरालये शक्तिदेवालये गोष्ठे सर्वदेवालये शिवे वशे तदा त्रिमूले वा मातृवृन्दावने तथा पवित्रे निर्मले स्थाने नित्यानुष्ठानतोऽपि वा निर्विघ्नेन मोरेण तपमेकं समाचरे श्मशाने वायभूमौ
मठमूलान्तिके
तथा सिद्ध्यन्ति दोतरे मूले शुद्धवृक्षससानिरो गुरुपुत्रो वरमूर्खास् तस्य सिद्ध्यन्ति नान्यथा शुभकर्माणि सर्वाणि दीक्षाव्रता तपंसि च संसारमालनाशार्थं भावपाशानिवृत्तये गुरुगीताम्बसि स्नानं तद्वद्या कुरुते सदा सैव च गुरु साक्षात् सरस ब्रह्मवित्तमा तस्य स्थानानि सर्वाणि पवित्राणि न संशया सर्वशुद्ध पवित्रोऽसौ स्वभवद्यत्र तिष्ठति तत्र देवागणा सर्वे क्षेत्रेऽपि ते वसन्ति आसनस्थशयानो वा दंशसि संवरानपि आश्वरूढो गजारूढा सुप्तो वा जाग्रतोऽपि वा सुषिस्मसहस्रार्याणि गुरुगीता जपेन च तस्य दर्शनमात्रेण पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते
समुद्रे च यथा
ततोऽयं क्षीरं घृते घृतं विने कुम्भे यथाकाशात् तथा परमात्मनि तथैव ज्ञानि जीवात्मा पारमात्मनि लीयते ऐक्येन रमते ज्ञानी यत्र तत्र रिवानिशाम् एवं विद्धो महामुक्तः सर्वरवर्तते बुधा तस्य सर्वप्रयत्नेन भावभक्तिं करोति या सर्वसन्देहरहितो
भवति पार्वती
भुक्तिमुक्तिद्वयं तस्य जीवाग्रे च सरस्वती अनेन प्राणिना सर्वे गुरुगीता जपेन च सर्वसिद्धिं प्राप्नुवन्ति मुक्तिं न संशया सत्यं सत्यं पुनः सत्यं धर्मं सत्यं मयोदितं गुरुगीता समं नास्ति सत्यं सत्यं वरानने एको देव एको धर्म एकनिष्ठा परं तपः गुरुपरतरं नान्यत् नास्ति तत्त्वं गुरुपरम् माता धन्या पिता धन्यो धन्यो वचाकुलं तथा धन्या च वसुरा देवी गुरुभक्ति सुदुर्लभा शरीरमेन्द्रियं प्राणश्चार्थस्वजनबन्धवा माता पिता कुलं देवी गुरुरेव न संशया कोट्या जपव्रता तपाक्रिया तत्सर्वं सफलं देवी गुरु सन्तोषमातृथा विद्यातपो बलेने ब्रह्म विष्णु महेशाश्च
देवर्षि पितृकिन्नरा
सिद्धचरण यक्षाश्च अनेपि मुनयो जना गुरु बाबा परं तीर्थम् अन्यतीर्थं निरर्थकम् सर्वतीर्थाशयो देवी पारङ्गुष्यं च वर्तते जपेन जयमाप्नोति शानन्दफलमाप्नुयात् हीनकर्मा त्यजन् सर्वं साराणि च रमाणि च जपं हीनसनं कुर्वन् हीनकर्मा फलप्रदम् गुरुगीतां प्रयाणेव सङ्ग्रामेरुपसङ्कटे जपं जयमवाप्नोति मारणे मुक्तिदायकम् सर्वकर्म च सर्वत्र गुरुपुत्रस्य सिद्ध्यति इदं रहस्यनो वाचं तवग्रे कथितं मया सुगोप्यं च प्रयन्नेन ममां त्वं च प्रियात्विति गणेशादि विष्णुवरिणं च पार्वती मनसापि न वक्तव्यं सत्यं सत्यं वदाम्यहम् अतीव भगवच्चित्ताय श्रद्धभक्तियुताय च सराप्रिये अभक्ते वाञ्छके दूर्ते वाकने नास्तिके नरे मनसापि न वक्तव्या गुरुगीता करार्चना संसार सागर समुद्रगणेकमन्त्रम् ब्रह्मादिदेव मुनिपूजित सिद्धमन्त्रम् दारिद्र दुःख भवरोगविनाशमन्त्रम् वन्दे महाभयहरम् गुरुराजमन्त्रम् इति श्रीस्कन्दपुराणे उत्तरखण्डे ईश्वर पार्वती संवादे गुरुगीता समाप्ता। श्री गुरुदेव चरणार्पणमस्तु। नित्यानन्दाय गुरवे शिष्यसंसारहरिणे भक्तकाये कदेहाय नमस्ते चित्सदात्मने निर्वासनं निराकाङ्क्षं सावदोषविवर्जितं निरालम्बं निरातङ्कं नित्यानन्दं नमाम्यहम् निर्ममं निरहङ्कारं समलोष्टाश्मकञ्चनं समदुःखसुखमरीरम् अवधूतं नमाम्यहम् अविनाशिनमम्मानम् एकविघ्नाय तत्त्वता वीतरागभयक्रोधं नित्यानन्दं नमाम्यहम् अहं देहो न मे देहो जीवो नामामि चेत् एवं विघ्नाय सन्तुष्टम् अवधूतं नमाम्यहम् समस्तकल्पनामन्त्रम् आत्ममुक्ता सनातना इति विघ्नाय सन्तृप्तं नित्यानन्दं नमाम्यहम् ज्ञानज्ञानकर्मणां कामसङ्कल्पवर्जितम् एयपारेयहीनं तम् अवधूतं नमाम्यहम् स्वभावेनैव यो योगी सुखं भोगं न वाञ्छते यदृष्टा लभसन्तुष्टं नित्यानन्दं नमाम्यहम् नैव निन्दा प्रशंसाभ्यां यस्य विक्रियते मनः आत्मक्रीडम् आत्मानम् अवधूतं नमाम्यहम् नित्यं जाग्रदवस्थायां स्वप्नवर्योऽवतिष्ठते निश्चिन्तं चिन्मयात्मानं नित्यानन्दं नमाम्यहम् द्वेषं नास्ति प्रियं नास्ति शुभाशुभं वेदध्यानवीरं तम् अवधूतं नमाम्यहम् जलं पश्यति नो यस्तु जगत् पश्यन्ति चिन्मयम् नित्ययुक्तं गुणातीतं नित्यानन्दं नमाम्यहम् यो हि दर्शनमात्रेण भवते भुवनत्रयम् पावनं जगमं तीर्थम् अवधूतं नमाम्यहम् सर्वपूज्यं सर्वपूर्णम् अखण्डानन्दविग्रहम् स्वप्रकाशं चिरानन्दं नित्यानन्दं नमाम्यहम् निष्कलं निष्क्रियं शान्तं निर्मलं परममृतम् गणेशपुरीवासिनम् अवधूतं नमाम्यहम् योगपूर्णं तपोमूर्तिं प्रेमपूर्णं सुदर्शनम् ज्ञानपूर्णं कृपामूर्तिम् दुर्जना सज्जनो भूयात् सज्जना शान्तिमाप्नुयात् शान्तो मुचेत बन्देभ्यो मुक्ताश्चर्यान् विमोचये स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्ताम् samasta sukhino bhavantu kale varshatu parajanyam prithivi shashashalini yeshoyam shobharita sarvo bhadrani pashyatu sarva kamana vabnotu sarva savatra nandatu swasti matrauta picheno astu swasti gobyo jagate purushebhya vishwam subhutam suviratram noastu yoge shanti arati karun sada guru ki karun sada guru ki pyare guru var ki arati karun guru var ki arati karun sada guru ki karun sada guru ki pyare guru var ki arati karun guru var ki jaya guru deva amala avinashi Rupantara Kevasi Jaya Guru Deva Jnana Rupantara Kevasi Paga Paga Paradete Sekirane Dinakara Guru ki pyare guru par ki arati karun guru var ki jab se sharan tumhari aaye se meethe phal paaye jab se Amrit se meethe phal paaye sharan tumhare kya Lochana Narabindu Kalatitam Tasme Shri Gurave Namaha Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai.
morning, everyone. Welcome to Sunday morning Satsang. Lots of familiar faces, and we will get underway. Nityanandaya Gurave Shisha Samsara Harine Bhakta Karye Kadehaya Namaste Chitsaratmane Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Satchitananda Murtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavaditam Astu Mahavidvishavahe Om Shanti 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 Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. You probably notice I'm in a different position than I'm normally standing. This represents transitioning to the various stages of life. And my lovely wife, Luann, the yoga teacher, had explained how we were going to sit up against the wall and it was going to be very comfortable and all of that. And then dear Govind pointed out there's no wall space. And so we had to shift. So I'm in between, not standing, not on the floor, in a chair. Somehow or another, it all fits into the subject. I don't know how. It's how do we manage all the stages and transitions of our life and our sadhana, and what does it mean? And I thought we've kind of come to the end almost of the year of studying the Upanishads. And as we come to that point, we start to think, and Devyani was thinking, I'm going to ask Gurudev what he wants to be the subject for next year. And one of the things we do on his visit, the second part, is to kind of get a sense of next year. And we're talking to him about that. And he just was very forthright with a number of things. One, he said, I think next year the subject will be Shakti, Shiva Shakti. And as always, when you hear it and it sinks in, you go, perfect. He said, because that's our path. It is the path of Shakti. And all of the scriptures that we study, yes, they support that, including the Upanishads. But the essence of the path is Shakti. And so, as we were organizing and contemplating what would be the focus, we thought, that's good. And this year, when you say Shakti, it's not that it's just going to be one text. It's not like the Upanishads. And I want to say something to maybe ease the concerns that you have, because I think in the intensive he mentioned this book. And what had happened when we were having that discussion, he had said, we'll study, Shakti and all of that, and he just handed me this book. Can you see the size of it? Yeah. And I went, whoa, okay. And it's not a scripture, okay? It's actually a poem, beautiful poem. And it's a very long poem. Now, there's a lot of other things in here as well. There's a lot of chapters on very interesting topics, Like one of them is the hymn to Shakti starts with Shiva. Interesting, isn't it? So anyway, he was just showing me this, and he left it. But I thought, I'll return it, or not take it with me. And then he corrected me in the intensive and said, you didn't, before the intensive, but he said, you didn't take the book. And I said, oh, it's your book. You know how that goes, right? And he said, no, it's for you to study, so you're prepared for next year. And then the thought was, is it what we're going to study? Is that? And he got back to us. He was back in India, and he said, no, it's not like that's going to be the only book we're studying, because we're not studying a text. It's Shakti, but that's one of the resources. And he said something that was, I think, relevant to the Upanishads. He said, the point is, all of these things, the scriptures, something like Sundarya Lahari, it's all about giving us a means and a way of going deeper, taking our sadhana deeper. He said, I don't want people to just stay at the same level, okay? And sometimes you need something to prompt you to go to a deeper level. And so whether you feel like I'm going to dive into this book, there are smaller versions, by the way, or that's not my thing. His point is, find something that takes you deeper. And so one of the thoughts that came up for me is, as I said, we're winding up this year of the Upanishads. I don't essentially want to bring in a whole lot of new input or content. I think it's more like winding it up, or maybe a review and a reflection. And so the thought came to me, I wonder what people have gained. I wonder what impact the study of the Upanishads has been for each of us. Now, that's a rhetorical question, but also you might want to say, oh, for me as well. Because what are the Upanishads about when you think about it? Their purpose. And in one of the scriptures it says, all the Upanishads, though they argue differently, they point to the same truth, like arrows along the circumference of a circle. That was a very nice imagery, isn't it? You can see they're just all in there. And the Upanishads, as the end of the Vedas, with all of its timeless rituals and chants and mantras and fire ceremonies and all of that, those stages are meant for living also earlier stages of life. How do we live our life in a dharmic way? And that was one of Gurudev's topics during his visit, dharma, adharma, following that which is righteous, that has a certain uplifting quality in it. That's the way we want to lead our lives. So the Upanishads, on the other hand, as the end of the Vedas, that's why we call it Vedanta, is all about a study of ourselves. All about a study of ourselves. And what does that mean? There's a little short phrase, Atmanam Viddhi. It simply means, know thyself and be free. Know thyself and be free. Another way of saying that is, if you know yourself, you will be free. But knowing yourself, not just personality-wise, but at the deepest level, the study of truth, the self. So it is the principle, the self, that is the principle of all things. So we hear, as we study the Upanishads, people having statements like, if you know that, you know everything. And that's really an interesting statement, is it? Knowing that, one knows everything. If we think in the traditional way of study, we think, oh, what a course that must be. That you learn that thing and then you know everything else. But what the Upanishads are saying, it's the principle underneath everything. The principle which is the basis of everything. And knowing that, everything is known. It's not all the details, I can tell you Payal's address in India, we're not talking about that, but we're knowing the root of things, the cause of all things. And of course, in that journey, we have to deal with our minds. And I'm just going to say that because you hear it all the time. It's the mind. You know, the mind is our greatest friend, our greatest enemy. But we really do have to think about what does that mean? The habitual quality of the mind. Again, in the scriptures, they say there are three things that are very powerful and difficult for us to overcome. Now, we can say it's our ignorance of our true nature, but we can get a little bit more granular and say it's the way the mind is functioning. If you think of a mirror, if it's dirty and dusty, there's no reflection, there's no light. And they say that one of the problems with the mind is that it becomes like that. It has a kind of covering. And so the inherent light of the self doesn't shine through. Vikshepa. Vikshepa is another one of the things that's talked about in this, and that is the inability to focus. To just focus continually on one thing. We sit for meditation, we're working on something, and okay, here we are, and then the mind goes there, the mind goes there, the mind goes there. And the interesting thing is, one of the things they say is that if you just reflect on your mind and say, and notice, what is my pattern? Because there will always be a pattern. What is the pattern of distractions? Because that's also what fixation is. It's a distraction. What is the pattern of my distraction? What typically comes up when I'm trying to focus? It goes there, and it goes there. It maybe goes there, but it comes back here. Because once we start to understand that, then we know what we're dealing with, and then we can almost catch it and come back. And one of the things that I feel is great about the Upanishads is they're stories, they're ways of thinking about our life that helps us to spot those patterns, right, to bring us back. So it's not a philosophy that we're trying to learn when we study the Upanishads. That's really important. It's not, I mean, they're wonderful scriptures that we study in Vedanta and Shaivism and so on, Patanjali, but they're like a whole philosophy, and we try to learn that philosophy to help us. There's no philosophy. It's just life. It's just sadhana. It's just coming to grips with the challenge of really being connected to ourselves, which is our true nature. And there are all these wonderful stories. And so if I'm looking at, and the one I've been focusing on is the Katha Upanishad, and the young boy who gets out and he in a sense, he criticizes his dad, because his dad is doing a ritual, but not wholeheartedly. In the sacrifice, giving the cows, he's giving cows that are so old and weak and non-productive. I mean, and he, in his own way, he kind of says, "Dad, you know, is that what you're going to give?" You know, he didn't use these exact words, and his dad was like, "I'm doing, you know, it's a typical thing that happens," and he said, "Oh, can happen," and he says, I'm focused here. Let me do." And he comes at his father again. He said, "You're going to give those cows." And his dad said, I'm busy. And he comes again. And his dad is annoyed. Naturally, he's trying to focus on something. And he says, basically, when Nachiketas finally says, "To whom will you give me?" And he says, "I'll give you to death." Yama, the Lord of Death. And because his son is really quite a highly evolved being, he doesn't hesitate, because traditionally, the parents are your first gurus. So this is not just his father, it's his guru. He doesn't hesitate to follow his instruction. Off he goes to Yama. But when he gets to Yama, and this is the important part for us, is there's all conversation and so on, and Yama grants him 3 boons, and he gives him the first 2 easily. But then he says, for the third boon. He says, some say after departure, meaning death, the soul is. Some say after death, the soul is not. What's the answer? What is the answer? So just pause for a second and put yourself in the picture. He's clear, Nachiketa, is why he's come to Yama. He has a question and he wants it answered. And I think on our path, we come to Satsang, say. We get on the path. What is our question? What is our burning question? Because he doesn't, Yama offers him everything. Okay, he says, oh, you can have this, you can live forever, you can be one of the, all and on. And Nachiketa just refuses each one. He wants the answer to this question. What is our burning question that we come to the Guru with, that we're not going to walk away from it? We're going to stay with it. That's our inspiration. That's our burning desire. And so finally, Yama tries to put him off. He says, for example, not even the gods can answer this question. Even they are in doubt. How will you, a young boy, understand? Typically they say he's between 8 and 10 years old. He's young. But he doesn't back away. And finally, Yama realizes this isn't an annoying kid. This is an advanced seeker. He wants the truth. And sometimes this is the issue. We hear about the Guru. It's important to understand what that means. Because we can just say, as Nachiketa is saying, just answer my question, please. Give me a straightforward. I just said there's only two options. Some say it is, the soul is, and some say it's not. What's hard about that? We can sometimes have that kind of attitude. But the Guru knows what we're looking at here, the self, consciousness, it's not a black and white issue. And one has to have the subtlety, and Gurudev is often talking about this, the subtlety of understanding to actually grasp the input that comes from the Guru. So in the Gurukula, which the disciple would stay in for 12 years, working, studying, purifying that mind, the dirt, the mala of the mind that I talked about before, so that when the Guru says, this is the answer, bang, there is an opening, there is a revelation, there's a real receiving of that, and it makes a difference, rather than a pushback. Yeah, but, and what does that mean? And the self, what is that? And consciousness, and why do we meditate? And, the list goes on, doesn't it? Because the mind isn't pure enough to simply receive the truth and understand it and work with that. And so Yama is not just being obstinate. He's not being difficult. He's simply saying, how will you understand this? But advanced seekers can understand things at times. He just has to test. So as it goes on, there's more that comes out, even though it's, can be difficult. Now Yama opens up to Nachiketas, just like, and I'm saying this to say, this is potentially what you can get out of reading the Upanishads. Not like you take a course in, high school, college, whatever. It's not like the accumulation of information and knowledge. It is, I think of it sometimes, it's more like an opening out. The knowledge that comes from that is like you just expand and open rather than take on more baggage. It's a profound difference, really. And this is what we're talking about. So in section 2, one of the mantras, they call them, is the wise sage who, by means, see, it goes straight to means of the meditation on the inner self, recognizes the ancient, capital A, the ancient, who is difficult to be seen, who is unfathomable and concealed, who is hidden in the cave of the heart, who is lodged in intelligence and seated amidst miserable surroundings, indeed, renounces joy and sorrow. That itself is like such a profound thing, you know, the wise sage. And, you know, we can be that wise sage if we open. And I think this is important too. You know, it says the wise sage, and so immediately that's the sage. But the whole point is for us to become that. So he's simply saying here, the wise sage who by means of the meditation on the inner self recognizes the ancient, so it's all about recognition, who is difficult to be seen. Yeah, there's all that stuff on the mind that I was talking about before, who is unfathomable and seemingly concealed, who is hidden in the cave of the heart, who dwells in the abyss. I mean, you kind of being put off by all of that. But then it goes on to say, but it is lodged in the intelligence. And when it says seated against miserable surroundings, that's like the world that we live in, and that's how we can feel with limited understanding. But he's giving a key here. He's saying that sage renounces joy and sorrow. So, Ragad Vesha, if we look at another scripture, it's saying you don't get attached to either one of those. Because when we attach ourselves to those things, that prevents us from seeing our true nature. Because they are continually changing. Joy becomes sorrow. You know the story. It's difficult. And so the average human being, maybe even a young, is put off by not getting an answer from the guru sometimes. Not just give me a straightforward answer. And not being willing to just go into and do the sadhana that is necessary so that we clear those three things. The third one is called avarna. It's a covering obstruction. It's like a deeper form of mala. It's like now you got to get to that mirror and you got to really start scrubbing. And it's a habitual thing, the way our minds work. And if we start to recognize that, we can maybe shift it. So one day, Sheikh Nasruddin was out on a walk, and he fell in a ditch. And the townsfolk heard him screaming, and they go, oh, Nasruddin again. Okay, so they go rushing to his aid, and they see he's down, and it's too deep for him to crawl his way out. So they said, oh, Nasruddin, give me your hand. Nasruddin, you want to get out of the ditch, give me your hand. Nasruddin, get out of, what are you doing? One of those wise people comes by, and they look and they see, oh, it's Nasruddin, right. Nasruddin, take my hand. Do you get the difference? Nasruddin is not used to giving anything. But if you say, take, oh, yeah. This is how the mind can be, okay? This is how sometimes our mind can be. We get caught in, I'm not giving anything. Take? Yeah. Okay. And it's funny, but it's subtle, isn't it? How our minds can work. And when we start to look at that tendency, we can start to change it. But only when we become aware of it. There is, that reminds me of the little story of, you probably have heard it when people would come to Baba Muktananda and ask him these kinds of questions and looking for answers, looking for kind of detailed answers. And Baba would often just say, meditate. And this person came many times and was adamant. Baba, I have a question. And don't you tell me to meditate. Fine, go to cha. Ask that question. Baba, Baba had his glasses. And he said, puts them down. Meditate. And I always say that because the answer to the problem is always the same. If you're on the path, if you're going to someone in another field of business, you can get a different answer. But Baba said, I only sell one thing in my shop, so meditate. Now, I want to just tell you a story that I think there's a lot in it for each of us. Most of you have heard of Prince, but earlier on, his name was Naren, and he came to meet Ramakrishna. I think he was 18 years old. But he was really a feisty, political, social young man, filled with energy. Was always challenging, asking questions, and his friends even would get frustrated with him. It's all fine. Naren doesn't have all of his questions answered or anything, but he's somehow or another taken enough to return another time. And this time, Ramakrishna does some of the things that great siddhas do. So at one point, he walks up to Naren, and he just places his right foot in Naren's chest. Not the normal thing you do, but a siddha will do that. And Naren immediately goes into samadhi. Okay, but with his eyes open, he could see everything is swirling and whirling around, and it's just receding. So it's kind of going, even the walls, by the way, this is how total it was. And obviously he starts to freak out a bit. And when he tells the story, he says, this is what I'm seeing. I saw everything receding, including myself. And the entire universe was about to vanish into this vortex. And he said, I felt it was going to be annihilated. And I was going to die. And he says, I cried out, what are you doing to me? Don't you know I have parents at home? Kind of thing we would say. It's like basically meaning I got a life, You can't just, and like I'm doing, Ramakrishna burst into laughter. And he said, okay, all right, let it stop. It need not happen all at once. Let it take its time naturally. I just think that's so rich. So rich, the capacity of a siddha to just awaken a person. And by the way, Naren was incredibly skeptical, to the point he used to make fun of Ramakrishna. Even after this experience, he would do that. He was a hard nut to crack. Okay, and so Ramakrishna was going to do what he was going to do. And so he gave him this experience. From our experience, we understand now something, that this is what the guru can do. And this, he knows, is a part of the opening. But when he says, all right, let it stop. He understands that it can be too much. It's like you're sleeping at night. You don't want somebody, if you're in deep sleep, just coming and waking you up. You ever had that happen? And it's like, it really is quite a shock. If you come out of a deep sleep suddenly, it's almost too much. And the awakening to this consciousness can be the same thing. It's too much. So he gives the experience, he laughs, and he says, it need not happen all at once. And whilst we can be overeager for it to happen all at once, oh, not much is happening in my sadhana. When is it going to happen? What do I have to do to make it happen? The Guru understands that that may not be the best thing for us, to have it all happen at once. It may need to progress in the way that it progresses. For the mind to be overwhelmed like that can be too much. And so, as Ramakrishna says, let it happen naturally. And obviously it did. He became his great disciple. He commissioned him to go to spread the teaching around the world. And after many years of doing sadhana, because even he had to do the sadhana with Ramakrishna and the other disciples. And then when Ramakrishna left his body, he told now Vivekananda, spread these teachings, spread them far and wide. And they didn't have much when Ramakrishna left his body. They just leaned on each other in their sangha, and Vivekananda was the head of it. And one day he just got this feeling, I've got to reach out. I've got to see what's happening. And the first thing he did was to travel the length and breadth of India. And then he decided to go further, to head to the west. And you can imagine what it was like. Again, Gurudev's been talking about, the masses, that mind that says, oh, no, you shouldn't. What are you doing? You don't go there. Don't do this. Don't. That's not the way. So despite the hesitations that other people had, Vivekananda set off by boat, and he just stopped at so many different places before he reached the U.S., because he wanted to go there to this big religious conference. And he had no contacts. So he just went to Chicago, was really just wandering around, if you know, in the winter of Chicago, with just the clothes you can imagine an Indian sadhu would have. Yeah, I know. It's like you just can't even, I started shivering and I'm reading this, It's like, oh my God, and they have a little photos, he's barely got, but he just stayed with it. This was his conviction. And this was his belief in his guru. And that was what he was serving, going to spread that word. And finally, he decided, well, okay, what am I going to do? This is really difficult. And for some reason, he had a contact with a professor in Boston. So he went to Boston to meet this professor who was really very taken and said, you should go to this conference. And he opened the door for him. And he went to this international religious, it's called the Parliament of Religions in Chicago in 1893. And he stands up and he just starts like this. Sisters and brothers of America, it fills my heart with joy unspeakable with the warm welcome you have given us. I am proud to belong to a religion which has taught the world both tolerance and universal acceptance. And it went on from them, and he had this standing ovation, and he had arrived. He had arrived to do what his guru wanted him to do. And I think of Baba Muktananda going to the West, much older than Vivekananda, in his 60s for the first time. And Baba sometimes tells the story how before Bhagawan took samadhi, he told Baba, you will travel and the world will come to know you. And I think the parallels and the challenges of that, but to follow the instructions, the teachings of the Guru, not from an egotistical point of view, but to serve. To serve. And that impulse to serve is one of the things that takes us further and further, deeper and deeper. And the interesting thing is, you look at all of this that we're talking about, and now we're back to Upanishads. As we study, is it the study that's going to make the difference? Pause for a second. I keep doing these pauses. When we enter into the spiritual realm, it's not like any other undertaking or study, where we go in, we get the first degree, we get the second degree, all of that, and we keep getting more and more information. As I said before, it's subtle. It's incredibly subtle. So yes, there is a practical side of it, and yet there's another side which is almost the opposite. Like, give me the answer. There's a paradox. There's a paradox. What is a paradox? A lot of clever people here. Someone can give a straight one. Sita, she's turning her, she's going. It's one of the paradoxes, and when you say, so what is it? They go, well, and I've used this example before, and to help us understand, I will often do a demonstration, and the demonstration is, and I'd like you to use your imagination because I usually would have a whiteboard. So we've got two colors. One is, let's say, red, and one is green. So if I was doing that and I had a marker and I said, what color is this? Easy. It's green. And then I did the other one, it's red. But now I do something that's a little different. I write on the board green with a red marker. And I write red with a green marker. You with me? And then I say, I point to the green in a red with a red marker, and I say, what color is this? And you say, blue. Yeah, and you can't win, because if you say you say green, I say no, it's red. Yeah, you get the whole drift of this, but my point is that's a paradox. Simple phrase. A paradox is simultaneous opposites. Simultaneous opposites. And when we enter in the spiritual path, it's strewn with paradox. Yes? You understand what I mean? They say, and you go, yeah, but it's not that. Yeah, they go, well, in one way of looking at it is that, and another way of looking at it is that. And this is when Gurudev's talking about you have to be subtle. That, I believe, is what he means. So it's not the surface. So like when he said, when we study something like this, it's not to pour all of this in. It's to get something from this which opens us to a deeper level of our being. That's why we do it. So instead of going like we would go to a university and take on all this information, it's almost like we go so that it's wiped away. Because remember this whole thing about the mind. It's the dirt, it's the dust, it's all of that in our mind that we want to clear away. And then, in a sense, we know more than we ever knew before, without taking in a whole lot. And at the same time, we will learn things. We will study scriptures. But that knowledge that we get when we study is freeing us from the limited way of thinking about who we are. It expands us from that limited sense of ourselves, maybe like when Vivekananda had that experience. What was he feeling he was losing and going to die? His ego. Not literal death, but the death of the ego. And that is the thing that binds us. That is the thing that keeps us from knowing our true nature. So we start to roam in a field of paradox. And so we have to ask ourselves that question: why study scriptures? Swadhyaya. And Baba Muktananda used to say, never forget Swadhyaya. And, we think of it, we just chanted the Guru Gita and did those various things, so that's a form of Swadhyaya. But he describes Swadhyaya is the study of the self. Part of that is chanting, part of that is scriptural, but it's all about the study of the self. And this is where we're talking about, well, I just say, take it personally. It's not someone else's wisdom. We want it to become our wisdom. So we have a professor who's very wise. And that's wonderful. And we listen. But in this case, what we're trying to get to is, I want the wisdom that has made that sage, that guru, that whatever, like they are. And I know it's not an amount of learning that has done that. It's something else. And that's what I'm looking for. And so one of the, I guess you would call them sayings in the Upanishads, which is, I think, quite powerful, it's arise, awake. Having reached a great teacher, learn. Learn about the Atman, the self, from that teacher. However, be aware, like the sharp edge of a razor is that path, difficult to cross, and how hard it is to tread. Thus say the wise. So this is the knowledge that comes out of the Upanishads. Arise. Again, we'll use the sleep metaphor. It's like, arising is the beginning. In other words, turn towards the brilliant sunlight. Arise. Stop looking at the darkness. Turn to the light of perfection. But arising is not the total ending, they point out. Get out of bed. Okay? Don't just sit up in bed. You're rising. Awake. Find a teacher to awaken you, to give you the true knowledge. And we all have our version of that story, arise and awake. And then it goes on, it says, having reached the great teachers, learn. Learn about the self. Like the sharp edge of a razor is the path. Difficult to cross, hard to tread. Thus say the wise. So even Naren, who was to become Vivekananda, amazing awakening. But there was years of sadhana to come after that before he could do the great work that he was meant to do. The mind is often not ready to comprehend the answer or even the experience. So he had that experience, and you would say, oh, finished, great. He comes back, and in a few days, he's criticizing his guru. He's making fun of him, not with the guru, but with his friends. One of the lines is, how can he say a cup, a plate, the road, a pole is God? He's had this experience, and yet he's still saying this. This is the profound grip that the mind has on us. It is a profound grip. I don't know where that. And so it takes time to kind of just keep working with, to do the sadhana, That's what sadhana is. So Patanjali says, tapas swadhyaya ishvara paridana. You got to do tapas. You got to do the hard work. And you have to do swadhyaya. We just have to do it. And then ishvara paridana, which is, I would translate that is just love, belief, commitment to God, to the highest. Okay? Because somewhere it said, just doing all of these things won't necessarily give you that experience. You need to also pray and yearn for God. And that is another form of Shakti. What we're getting to is they're not different, but they have different functions. And so when, we're back to Vivekananda, when he went out and reached out to people and he saw their reaction and he was fulfilling the mission of his guru, he wrote back, because all of his other guru brothers were still back in India, to them, and he said, come out of your narrow shells. Have you heard Gurudev say something like this? Come out of your narrow shells. The world is out there, and it needs the truth. So, how we live can be something that transforms not only us, but others. So work can become yoga only when the performance of work is free from the impulse of selfishness, of ego. When you do a work, you must put a question to yourself. This is what it said. What is the reason behind engaging in this work? Just for me? Or for all? And then it's transformed. And then people are transformed. We are transformed. So it doesn't have to be that we can only do that work in the ashram. Although Devyani would say, no, it's a good thing to do. But it's like, if you can do it in the ashram and take that learning with us out there, then it's just enriching everything. And this is what Vivekananda saw. And he made such a difference in the West that he is just immortalized in India because they look at what he did. And it's just mind-boggling when you think about what he went through to be able to do that. Now, it's not like we have to imitate Vivekananda. Again, Gurudev is often saying, no, be yourself. And saying, as I wound up here, that a slightly expanded version of this by Thich Nhat Hanh. You probably have heard of him. The great Buddhist, I guess you would say, teacher who's passed on. He said, to be beautiful means to be yourself. You don't need to be accepted by others. You need to accept yourself. When you're born a lotus flower, be a beautiful lotus flower. Don't try to be a magnolia flower. If you crave acceptance and recognition and try to change yourself to fit what other people want you to be, you will suffer all your life. True happiness and true power lie in understanding yourself, accepting yourself, having confidence in yourself. Now, this is the wisdom of the stages. To be beautiful means to be yourself. There's a one-liner from this book, which you can, Secret of the Siddhas. And it's like Baba's commentary on the Secret of the Siddhas in terms of the relationship of Shiva and Shakti. He says, because Shiva is very subtle, he cannot be known without Shakti. that's worth continual contemplation, isn't it? It's so powerful because Shiva is very subtle. He cannot be known without Shakti. Therefore, the subject for next year is Shiva Shakti. Sagarnath Maharaj Ki Jai.
सूरज दो दीप उजाला
नवर धरणी आरती थाला चंद्र सूरज दो दीप उजाला अगर चंदन सब धूप विराजे अगर चंदन सब धूप विराजे झूलाने रोचवर करुणा सियार खिली जो नित्यानंद प्रकाशी पूर्ण मुक्तानंद प्रकाशी आरती लीजो फूल वनस्पति है ये सारे सातों सागर जल की जारी फूल वनस्पति
है ये सारे साचो सागर जल की जाची
गगन अनाहत बाजे बाजे गगन अनाहत बाजे 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 राग डरे यम पासिया आरती लीजो आरती लीजो अजविनाशी पूर्ण नित्यानंद प्रकाशी पूर्ण मुक्तानंद प्रकाशी आरती लीजो चार प्रकार के
अन गोपाला सोई तेरो भोग रसाला
चार प्रकार के अन गोपाला
सो तेरो
भोग रसाला लोक
चतुर्दिशा मंदिर तेरो लोक चतुर्दिशा मंदिर तेरो
आसन स्वयं अंबिका आरती लीजो आरती लीजो अजनासी
पूर्ण नित्यानंद प्रकाशी पूर्ण मुक्तानंद प्रकाशी आरती लीजो
महावाक्य वेदान के जो है सो तेरा चरणामृत सोहे महावाक्य वेदान के जो है सो तेरा चरणामृत सोहे
सद्गुरु पुजारी देव चरणामृत
विना की आरती लीजो, आरती लीजो। अज विनाशी पूर्ण नित्यानंद प्रकाश, पूर्ण मुक्तानंद प्रकाश।
धन्य धन्य प्रदक्षिणा सद्गुरु रायाची झाले, वर सुरवर विमान उतरा याची। धन्य धन्य प्रदक्षिणा सद्गुरु रायाची झाले, वर सुरवर विमान उतरा याची। परोपरी अपार जाऊया पुण्याच्या रशी, परोपरी Sadhguru Jyota se Jyota jagavo, mera antara mera mitavo. Sadhguru Jyota se Jyota jagavo, Jyota se Jyota jagavo. Sadhguru Jyota se Jyota jagavo, mera antara mera mitavo. Sadhguru Jyota se Jyota jagavo. Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva, tvameva bandhuscha sakha tvameva, tvameva vidya dravina tvameva, tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Dura karo dukadara sabha, karo Bhagavan, mana mandira mein ujjwala ho, tera nirmala gyan. Jagai Jai Kuchadiya apane Bimta karunyana namaskar ki Bimta karun Jordan mein dono hath namaskar ki Bimta karun Jordan mein dono hath. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadgurunath Maharaj ki jai. Vishwanyarya Ilaspare Samidyase Sanovashunya Para Samgachatvam Samvadadvam Samvomaram Sijanatam Deva Bhagamyata Purve Samjanara Upasate Samano mantra samiti samani samaramana sachittamesham samanam mantram abhimantraye vasamane navo avishajuhomi समानेव आकृति समाना हृदयानि वा समानमस्तु वो मनो यथा वासु सहसति हरि ओम ओम द्योः शान्तिरन्तरिक्षगुं शान्ति पृथिवी शान्तिरापः शान्तिरोपदयः शान्तिः वनस्पतयः शान्तिर्विश्वे देवाः शान्तिर्ब्रह्म शान्ति सर्वगुं शान्ति शान्तिरेव शान्ति सामा शान्तिरेति यथा समी असे ततो नो अभयं कुरु शन्नः कुरु प्रजाभ्यो भयान्नः पशुभ्यः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सुशान्तिर्भवतु सर्वरिष्ट सर्वोपद्रवः शान्तिरस्तु की जय।
Where can you go? Where can you go and have a satsang that has Rig Veda, that has Yajurveda mantras, that has bhajans, that has kirtans, that has study of the scriptures, darshan, and the company of one another, where it's so rich and it's so full. And as I think about it, I'm like, 25 years we are here. Next year, everyone. 25th anniversary here at Shanti Mandir Walden. So 25 years just here that we've all been coming and taking stock, taking inventory, enjoying the Swadhyaya, the study of the self. All the different speakers, all the different visits of Gurudev, coming and going and coming and going, all the retreats, all the courses, all the Sattva cooking classes, all the pujas, all the yagnas. It's such a blessing. And we are all so fortunate to have it right here for all of the local people who can come as much as they can come. And with that consistency, as I look out, I see people who were there in Livingston, New Jersey when we first came to the East Coast. I see people who were there at Pine Bush. I see people who joined us here, whenever, however, but the main thing is that we're all at it week after week, every Sunday after another Sunday. Go home for our week enriched, go home with some new wisdom, something, a reminder to continue our process so that we continue processing all of that, like what Larry was talking about, all of the stories, all of the analogies, Sheikh Nasruddin, all these things, they create a percolation in the mind. They create movement in our soul. They create something in the body. They create so much presence for the self. And it's like, it's an invitation every time to go deeper, and go into the depths of our own being, so that while we're still here, we can come to know the answer to those questions. I thought the question was going to be, who am I? I was like, oh, who am I? That's what we come in with. Who am I? We come to the path with like, who am I? Where did I come from? What is all this? What is birth? What is death? And we go through all of these experiences, but the greatest thing is having the gift of satsang that just keeps us filled with that experience, that keeps us filled with that yearning, that inspires us to keep one foot in front of the other, doing it, day after day, year after year, and the years roll on. So it's always a joy to be in everyone's company too. That I think is like also key. There's darshan of the gurus, there's darshans of the siddhas, there's darshans of the path, but to have the darshan of one another and just to feed each other, nourish each other, it's just, there's nothing like it. So anyway, on to next week. So next week we have our Sunday satsang, and that'll be kirtan and meditation. So bring your voices, bring your devotion, bring your hands to clap, bring your symbols. We have the symbols here, and everybody come with that enthusiasm for kirtan, so that we can invoke the name of God and invoke that ecstasy and that intoxication within. Also, just a reminder to everybody that Gurudev's next visit here will be around March 8th to April 8th, so for 1 month. And during that time, we'll be having two things, two special programs. One is the Understanding the Siddha Path series, and this course for this time is a 5-day course. So it begins on March 22nd until March 26th to March 24th to March 28th, something like that. It's somewhere there. All the dates are coming together and they're swirling around. So that's then, and then it's followed by the Spring Navaratri. So those two things will be right near each other, just with not even a day in between, actually. So that'll be in March, and then we'll have another one of those in September. So keep that all on your calendars, and especially for those of you who are joining us from afar. Also, our year-end giving letter will be out soon. That's the one that we circulate at the end of the year, so if anybody wishes to have a tax donation letter from the ashram, $250 and above, you get your letter at the beginning of the year that you can use for your own tax deductions with your year-end taxes and all of those things, and a wonderful way to support the ashram. So thank you in advance for any donations that helps us to keep the ashram going here and sustain all that we do here. Also, we will have, when you go down to Namaste, when you come through the lobby there, you'll see a large table there. It's going to be undraped, and that table, what's on there, is a lot of the things as we clean up drawers and spaces and closets and attics and decluttering of the ashram that we do every year, that we do many times during the year. There's items there. Anyone wishing to take any of those items, you can take them home with you. They're all free, the ones that are on the table. Just be mindful when you go down there, make sure that you leave something for others, so that there's plenty, it's pre-piled up. Next week, when we have our Sunday satsang, Payal Desai, who's been with us since September, and really, really a very, very lovely human being and a seeker on this path, and she's from Valsad, and she's been serving the ashram during her stay, mostly all in the kitchen and with her presence here at the chants, but she goes back to India, and we will see her next year, so I'm very excited about that. So we wish you a safe journey when you depart next week, and your presence here at Walden will be missed. Just know that. And one more thing I had. Something which I, of course, did not write down. So I think we'll leave it there. So that concludes our Sunday morning satsang. Everybody please come up for darshan, followed by lunch prasad down at Namaste. Thank you all. Sadhguru Maharaj Ki Jai.